This man is definitely a genius. He puts salt and pepper into a tin can, then adds high-carbon steel powder. Finally, he inserts single-edged blades. The finished product can surprisingly sell for a high price. Only at the end do I understand what a true master is. At this moment, you can see, the blades are placed in 2 tin cans and welded shut. At the same time, a small hole is drilled on one side of the can as an air vent. Then it's welded to the front of a rebar and heated in a furnace until red hot. It can then be placed on the air hammer's workbench for continuous forging. Under immense pressure, the space inside the can is constantly compressed. This effectively avoids the formation of internal bubbles and voids. Simultaneously, all materials inside the tin can form an integral whole after being forged and compressed. After tens of thousands of strikes, 2 steel billets are obtained. He uses an angle grinder to cut the billets, thus obtaining a piece of pure steel billet. A rebar needs to be welded onto the billet for further operations. Next, it is placed back in the furnace for heating. After heating, some high-carbon steel powder is sprinkled on the surface. Then he continuously hammers it. During the hammering process, impurities inside the billet are expelled, making the entire billet harder. He then places the cooled billet on a belt sander to smooth all 4 sides, because he needs to cut the 2 billets into 4 short billets, and assemble and weld them together. At this point, the patterns already look very beautiful, but this is far from his requirements, so they must be welded together and reforged. Then continue the previous operation. The red-hot billet is placed on the air hammer's workbench and hammered with different molds. Through repeated forging and stretching, it takes the shape of a long strip. At this moment, he tightens the long strip billet with tools. This further enhances the internal patterns, thus obtaining a unique Damascus pattern. Next, he forges it into a square shape and cools it in sand. Then irregular ends of the billet are cut off, continuing to cut vertically. Only the essence of the middle part is needed. At this point, the pattern begins to show slightly, but further forging and shaping are still required. Then he hammers the front end into a pointed shape and slightly thins the entire steel ladder, then hammers out the shape of the handle. Next, he uses a belt sander to smooth the surface. Then the polished piece is placed back in the furnace for heating until red. Afterward, it's quickly cooled in oil. The final step is quenching. After quenching is complete, it needs to be tempered and polished to create the shape. Finally, it is placed in a diluted acidic solution. After soaking for 30 minutes, it's rinsed clean in water. Thus, a beautifully crafted Damascus pattern is completed. What do you think of his creativity? On a scale of 10, how many points would you give him?